Now, a character who is just as important as any man when it comes to the story of the Stuarts is Mary, Queen of Scots. This woman has fan clubs to this day and is heralded as a heroic figure of the Stuarts. Now, in 1548, she was sent to France. Now, this would have thoroughly irritated the Tudor family, but because of the consistent back and forth Scotland and England was having, and with the Catholic issue, what with Catholics and Protestants being at each other's throats, Scotland felt that England wasn't reliable. They couldn't trust them necessarily, or at least trust the political or economical climate in order to have arranged marriages, especially after the Battle of Flodden and what had recently gone on. So Mary is sent to France, where she spends many years in the lavish Catholic court, where she learns ultimately to become a lady. The Catholics were very different to the Protestants. They lived a far more lavish, flash lifestyle, if you want to put it that way. And eventually, over a decade after her spending time learning to be a lady in the French court, she marries the prince who would eventually become king, known as Francis. Now, when Francis eventually becomes king, it's very short-lived, and it must have been heart-rending for her. She had become the Queen of France. Many monarchs out there that would have loved to have united the monarchs under a basis of divine right to rule, as opposed to governments and parliament sanctioning and governing them, which was more prolific under Protestantism. When Mary's husband died a mere year after becoming king, she then, as a Catholic, is forced to go back to Protestant Scotland. This culture shock must have been immense. Her presence in France was meaningful. It meant something. It gave existence to the connection between the French and the Scots. It gave Scots authenticity in Europe. Now she was back in her old gloomy home, in a world that was completely different to that which she had been brought up in. And not only that, to be brought up in the French court would have been truly awe-inspiring, fantastic, in comparison with that of Britain at the time, which would have been a very gloomy existence.